can still get sued, but now I have a defense.
I think that the way you should think about it is, imagine you were writing an essay, and in the course of the essay you would quote stuff from your culture, right? You'd quote passages from, some popular writer, or you'd have passages from Shakespeare, whatever. You just include it, and you'd use it to try to make your story, right? And what you do is you'd quote and you'd cite. That's what you do. You should have the same freedom with film as that writer has with that text. Nobody would doubt that the writer could do that with the text, but it's a federal case whether you're allowed to do that with film.
The coolest lawyer in the world just told me I'm making an illegal film. If I want to use this Girl Talk song, I would need to ask dozens of rock stars and get permission from the Warner Brothers. But there's no amount of money in the world that would convince the music industry to allow me to use their own music to criticize them. If it were up to them, you wouldn't be allowed to hear anything.
Generate silence. Okay.
So how do I make a mashup film without playing a mashup? My one hope is fair use, because I am making a point. My point is that copyright is out of control. It's been manipulated for profit at everyone's expense. This is a global issue, so the debate shouldn't be limited to just me or a bunch of lawyers and lobbyists. Why not enlist the world's remixers to join the discussion? I've started a website called Open Source Cinema, and I put all my footage online to see what people will do with it. So far, this film has been mixed and remixed to the point where 64 university students even got together to make an animated version. So now I've got a posse, and we're creating this movie together. Whenever you see this sign, you'll know that this piece of video came from someone else. Maybe it came from you.
These are communities. They're being created by the opportunity this technology makes available. And these communities engage in a kind of conversation, each one taking what the other had done and adding to it, mixing it and changing it, and engaging in a creative act.
Hello? Yes? Hello?
And my community taught me that the remix game has been going on for a long time.
When you experiment with cut-ups over a period of time, you find that some of the cut-ups and rearranged text seem to refer to future events. Stop at random and cut in a phrase, and you have a new juxtaposition. Now, of course, this procedure on the tape recorder produces new words by altered juxtaposition.
At first I tried to create new art forms out of the remains of older cultures.
From the Dadaists to the beat poets to the pop art of Warhol, today's remixers are standing on the shoulders of giants.
The importance of this remix has nothing to do with the technique that each of these videos demonstrates. The importance is that this technique has now been democratized. This remix gives anyone with access to a $1,500 computer the power to say things differently.
Imagine there's no heaven. It's easy if you try. No hell below us. Above us, only sky. Imagine all the people living for today. The color girls say, peace.
This is writing in the 21st century. It is literacy for a new generation. It is building a different democracy. It is building a different culture, where people participate in the creation and the recreation of the culture around us, a form of culture that has existed from the beginning of human society all the way through the present, except for 1 century, the 20th century.
Well, if you were born in the 20th century like I was, you're probably familiar with the song you're listening to, and you probably grew up watching the creations of Walt Disney. I love this stuff, and so does Cory Doctorow, who's probably one of the only copyright activists in Mickey's club.
Who's the leader of the club that's made for you and me? M-I-C-K-E-Y-M-O-U-S-E.
Ultimately, what this is a ride about is about glorifying piracy. They have a great gift shop when you get off that's all full of pirate stuff. I always walk in and I go, man, all this stuff makes me want to download a movie.
I'm a big fan of this man, Walt Disney. I'm a big fan of his work because his greatest works demonstrate beautifully how culture builds on the past. What Walt Disney did, better than perhaps anybody else, was to take works that were in the public domain and updated it and made it relevant for our age.
Real boys?
His work was always continuing the conversation of a culture. It was an expression through a remix of the stuff that went before.
Walt was a mashup artist. Steamboat Willie was based on Steamboat Bill, and in his notes on the score, he says basically he instructs his staff, go and rip off Steamboat Bill for me, please.
Steamboat Bill, steaming down the Mississippi.
Use that so that people will know that we're referencing Steamboat Bill here. Mickey was meant to be a stand-in for every person, to be a kind of generic, everyman. And so I think that we were told to identify with Mickey. And when you're told to identify with Mickey, you sometimes do.
Oh, the stork has brought a son and daughter to Mr. and Mrs. Mickey Mouse.
In the 1960s, a cartoonist named Dan O'Neill wanted to turn American capitalism on its head. And for him, Mickey Mouse was the only character for the job. O'Neill and a collective of proto-remixers known as the Air Pirates reimagined Mickey as a drug-dealing revolutionary. Disney sued, repeatedly. It was a love generation standoff between freedom of speech versus the right of a corporation to control its intellectual property.
We feel that an artist has rights to characters that she creates. Absolutely not. I stole this mouth fair and square.
I always get what I want.